crows, they're insane. They're so loud. Not my favorite animal. 3, 2, 1. Welcome. Today is Wednesday, June 24th, 2020. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. So guess what? We're almost halfway done with 2020. The year that I think most of us would like to say, hey, get out of here. We don't want you. I, for one, despite having had some successes and some positive things this year, talk about a year. I think if 2020 was summed up in a year, it would be those crows running around, making a racket. I'm thankful that I'm awake at this time because they're loud, and it would definitely wake me up. And it's not, really the best nature alarm. I have those screaming, flying, annoying things. I like animals. I like birds. I even like crows, just not when they're making that noise. Supposedly, crows are really smart. I definitely saw them communicating. They are able to communicate, or so I have read. But I think I mentioned this, was it last Friday or something? I saw a group of them, and one of them was definitely expressing something. It was in the middle of the road. It was hopping up and down, and then it flew away. I don't know what they were arguing about. They were arguing about something. It's really hard to take anything seriously with that in the background. Well, it's Wednesday. Yesterday was Tuesday. Went to the gym, got some work done, had a great podcast interview. And I was a little nervous because it was hot, and I was afraid I would be off my game, and I wasn't. This one went awesome. Had a great guest, and she did, as always, all the work. I just had to kind of hang back and make a couple comments. But I'm reminded, and if you follow my Instagram, my personal Instagram, you saw something in the story. It's just so hot in there. It's such a small space. There's a computer, my body heat, breath. I have to keep the door shut because of the furball and noise, and it just heats up so quick. And I was about 3 minutes in before I realized I hadn't taken off my shirt. So taking off my headphones and listening to one and taking off the shirt, and recorded, not my first time, but recorded shirtless. And as soon as I was done, walked out, and the rest of the house, which was, still mid to upper 70s, felt amazing. What else did I do? Made tacos last night. Those are great. Chilled out, watched some TV, did some errand chore stuff online. Got a friend who's going to help me do some maintenance on my motorcycle. I don't really know how to do that stuff. So did some research on that, did a bunch of email, and then last night had let's call it a meeting, a phone meeting with Gabe, who is the producer for Whistlekick Live, and we went over how we're going to step it up for next time. Just under 2 weeks now, the July episode of Whistlekick Live. First Tuesday of the month, 8 a.m. God no, 8 p.m. Eastern, and we've got some better stuff in store. So make sure you check that out. It's going to be a better show. I feel confident in saying that, and I'm excited. We keep making it a little bit better each time, and much of that goes to credit goes to Gabe. So thank you. Today, what's going on today? Today has two big things. Oh, a few big things. I am going to have my blood drawn for, what's that, 8:30? So this cup of coffee is just coffee. I didn't even put salt in it because I didn't ask them about salt. They said I could have water and black coffee. So I'm having my 1 cup of coffee, going to get my blood drawn. and then I'm coming back and figuring out what I'm doing about my tooth. I mentioned yesterday I got a cavity, and I thought we were all set for a path forward because I was supposed to have a dental cleaning tomorrow. And seeing as how nobody told me I wasn't having a dental cleaning, so I called to confirm, and the office is closed. And they asked me to email. And then I got 2 voicemails. And then I got an email response. And bottom line, they're not doing anything until January. January. It's June. January. I'm not saying that I'm delayed until January, which I am. I'm saying that the office is closed for 6 months. You know what's really hard to do right now? Finding a medical professional, especially one whose regular business got backed up 3 months. Right? Yay, 2020. And then I'll coach some CrossFit this evening. And in between there, do some work. I think that's it. Pretty straightforward day. It's raining. Finally, it's really raining. We had some thunderstorms yesterday. And with all the heat we've had, it's going to be good. Plants are ready. I mean, they've been starting to grow, and so looking at the weather, looks like we've got a bunch of rain and sun coming over the next week to 10 days. Things are going to explode in the garden, and I'm really excited for that. What else? Cat's asleep over there. She attacked me this morning. I think she was trying to play, but it still hurt. And yeah, that's what we got. Jeremy's yesterday and today in a nutshell. So let's see what you all wrote in for me to talk about. Oh, we got a few things here. Wow. Good job, Oliver. We got some stuff from Frank and some stuff from Stacy. Stacy, I don't know that you've left these sorts of comments before. I'm impressed. I'm proud. I'm happy. Thank you. What are we going to start with? We have a quote from somebody I know. We'll start with this one. So Stacy's got a quote here. Perseverance can be learned. An attitude of mental toughness can be encouraged, but it is messy work. It involves fear and crying and pushing students to the edge of what they believe is possible and then pushing a little harder. Renshi Lisa Magiera. Renshi Lisa, if you really know your whistlekick history, has been on the show twice. I believe twice. Yes. She had an individual episode, and she was part of the 2-part series Women's Roundtable that we did. She owns now the karate school I started at many years ago. And yeah, I've had quite the opportunity to we've sparred, we've done forums. I know Renshi Lisa. And I agree. I think one of the best benefits to martial arts is learning perseverance, that push that a good instructor gives you to help you find your edges, your limits, and the realization that you can redraw them at any time if you are mentally strong enough. I have a saying. People are like goldfish. They grow to the size of the bowl they're in. How many times have you heard of someone finding a way? You know, just some difficult situation, and they manage to find a way. Happens often. How many times do you hear people that are put in those situations and they don't find a way? Far less often. People find a way. We are goldfish. We grow to the size of the bowl we're put in. Which means if you're not testing those boundaries, if you're not giving yourself space to grow, maybe you should. It's easy to get comfortable. And I think we all like that comfort. I have historically railed against that comfort, and I don't know why. Part of just how I was raised. But don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to see how far you can go, how big you can grow in that bowl. But do it intelligently. Be thoughtful with how you undertake things. Coffee. Cat's half asleep. Let's have these 3 from Frank this time. Many karate teachers teach a watered-down style. No hip action and no depth of punching. So it is easy to say that these teachers have no depth to their knowledge. You are what your teacher is, and if he knows a lot, you should be able to demonstrate this knowledge. Higa Yuchoku. Higa Yuchoku. Not guaranteeing the pronunciation of that name. There are a great deal of martial artists who have I'm not going to call it watered down, but a shallower, I think that's a better word given the quote, a shallower understanding of the art that they train in than they may want to. And that comes as a result of people who want shortcuts and want to push through rank quickly, and instructors who maybe permit that. I have stepped into martial arts schools as both a white belt and as retaining my black belt. And one of the things I have found is that there is nuance that comes only with time at certain ranks. That's not to say that it's always the right choice to start over as a white belt, but it is my preference for that very reason, that depth. No, it doesn't mean that if I start over as a white belt, I'm necessarily going to take as long as a typical white belt. But I want to make sure I learn that white belt stuff. And then, the next belt, let's say, is yellow belt. I want to learn all that yellow belt stuff. Excuse me. I want to work on forms and technique with the yellow belts. Because when they're corrected for doing something, I can observe, I can learn, oh, okay, this is an important thing here. This is an important thing here. This has been a challenge for me in Taekwondo, is that I was never in the back of the room. I never wore anything but my black belt. And I learned all the forms, and I've learned most of the techniques and the nuance. But I'm a karate guy doing Taekwondo. Now, to be honest, I probably always would have been, because that's how I view the martial arts world, that first style. And this is what I observe in most martial artists who have trained in multiple styles. That first style tends to be their language that they work from, if they've trained in it a while. But I don't have the depth. Now, I could certainly put in a lot of effort and get that depth, but it's different. I don't want to. It's not going to be fun for me. But it's important. If I was, let's say I was going to tell people I taught Taekwondo, I would need that depth. That would be important. Next. To know oneself is to study oneself in action with another person. Bruce Lee. So the first place I go with this quote is not action in terms of physical combat, sparring, martial arts. It's in action, in engagement with another person. How do you react to another person? How do you converse with them? How do you relate to them in friendship and business and romance. It tells you a lot about yourself. When I was younger and more prone to anger, I would react in anger. I would react in fear. And I didn't like that about myself. Now, I'm older. I'm calmer. I'd like to think I'm wiser. And I react much more evenly. But you're not going to see those reactions when you're not talking to somebody or interacting with them. Being solo doesn't really show you anything about that, right? You've got to get off the couch, literally, to make any of those things happen. Of old, the expert in battle would first make himself invincible and then wait for his enemy to expose his vulnerability. Sun Tzu. We could apply that in a lot of different ways. In martial arts, defense first. Let's say in business, be cautious, have adequate cash flow, don't make big risky moves, slow and steady, that kind of thing. The quote and the comment on defense first reminds me of a drill that we used to do way back. And it was sparring, and have to bring the pace down a bit. But one person attacked and one person defended. And if you ask people which role was easier, most of them would say defending. And the question is why? Why is defending easier? Because the attacker has to get close enough. They have to land a technique. They have to cover that gap. The defender just doesn't. They just have to make sure that doesn't happen. They just have to move. They just have to get away. And when you think about defense in that way, like this quote, if you stay out of range, if you stay out of harm long enough, your opponent will expose a vulnerability, and then you move for that. When I'm sparring with somebody new, I don't tend to attack quickly. I hang back. I think most people do this, kind of feel them out. And what am I looking for? I'm looking for gaps. What do they do? Are their feet too wide? So I know they're going to be slow to move. Do they have some kind of big tell? Something they do before they move? Watch for those things. Do they have terrible control? So I have to make sure that I don't get kicked in the face. You always make sure you don't get kicked in the face, but you know what I mean. You have to be doubly sure. Understanding what your opponent does, or protecting yourself, or being cautious. It's all summed up in here, and I think that it's a quote like this, it's a line like this that I'm assuming this is from Art of War, which I honestly don't remember if I've read, but if I have, it's been a while. This is probably why The Art of War is such a famous and still well-regarded book. Of old, the expert in battle would first make himself invincible and then wait for his enemy to expose his vulnerability. It's such an amazing, simple philosophy, and I think you can apply it just about anywhere. And our last quote, comment for the day, another one from Stacy. I love when you guys do this, right? So I had plenty of stuff to talk about from two different people. It makes it much easier for me, so thank you. Do not permit the events of your daily lives to bind you, but never withdraw yourselves from them. Only by acting with us can you earn the title, a liberated one. Huang Po. I don't know who Huang Po is. Do not permit the events of your daily lives to bind you, but never withdraw yourselves from them. You do what you gotta do, but you don't let it consume you. You do what you can with what you have where you're at, and then you let it go. I am a person who historically obsesses over things. I need to feel like I've taken some action. As you might imagine, and if you watched yesterday, listened to yesterday, you know that I'm dealing with a cavity in here. And it's really bumming me out. But it's been almost a week. I first experienced these sensations last Thursday night. Here it is Wednesday morning, so we're almost at a week. I'm making it work. I've adjusted the way I eat. I've adjusted what I eat, what I drink. Although I had a beer last night for the first time since, and it was fine. And I'm working really hard to make sure it doesn't ruin the rest of what's going on. There have been some really good things that have happened over the last few days. Am I going to just sit and be bummed out because I got something going on in my mouth that I don't like? I mean, I could do that. I'm not going to withdraw. I'm going to move forward in the best way I can. Patiently. Intentionally. There's the word. But with an attempt at lightness. I'm not going to stomp. I think you know what I mean. I'm not going to stomp forward. Nope, just, you got to keep moving. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes you get kicked. Oh, you can tell. I shaved. Well, not really shaved. I cut hairs. All right. I think it's a good note to end on. Thank you. Thanks for joining me. If you join me live, if you're watching later, thanks for that too. If you're listening, thank you for that as well. Thank you to Frank and to Stacy for leaving things for me to respond to today. I hope you have a great day, and I hope if you're willing to support the work we do at Whistlekick, you will consider either making a purchase at whistlekick.com with the code FirstCup15 or supporting our Patreon, patreon.com/whistlekick. You have a great day, Stacy and Frank and everyone else. What went up on Patreon yesterday? It was, I put up a 3-part Q&A, questions I asked of the Patreon supporters, and I even answered them myself. I don't usually do that, but there you go. So, check it out. Have a great day. Leave me some stuff to talk about and respond to tomorrow. And I'll be back here tomorrow bright and early, 6:30 for First Cup. Take care. Peace.